Absolutely not. No. No words. No words. Describe. I should have said. The poet. So beautiful.
My family is filled with poetesses, poets, healers, co-secretary generals, co-saviorats.
You need to see what I've seen. You need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the Co-Federation, Solar, Sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth, as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, balance, and future, always balancing, to loving, genealogically, evolving, become, and be space-time travelers wherever and where we have interdimensional reality, all in part being before, yet also never been before, in alternative space-time lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both in each, and each both in all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she emerges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Counteract. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
We all are risen by my intercession.
महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्वा महाशक्ति महारथी महाभूता महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महायागक्रमाराध्या ओम महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महातांडव साक्षिणी महाकामेशमतिथि महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टिकोटियोगिनी गणसेविता
question than that. No. Words. Words. Scott, I should have said the poet.
My family is filled with poetesses and poets, healers, co-secretary generals, co-seferas, equinox, true cues. By my intercession,
You need to see.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not your, our new millennial law.
Okay. I'm not a Patricia. maybe made sunflowers, the Western Tea and Blackwood. This is Anna Marie, singing Christmas, and I am Cherokee, Cheyenne, Blackfoot, and Algonquin, Dakota. And I am also a French, English, and German. That means we are all related. We embrace the new millennial golden rule as the law of all the natives of the sacred ground that is Mother Earth and all the planets of all the universes.
We hope you've enjoyed the musical medley that we always play at some point during our broadcasts, because music reaches a level of our emotional and spiritual and mental awareness that just words alone cannot reach. And we are welcoming you to the midday's broadcast of the one family of love, life, in light of the Co-Federation of Earth and Planets of the New Millennial Golden Rule. We are giving the light of balance via the New Millennial Golden Rule as a quick fix, true Q quick fix to prevent horrific disaster to both individuals and families and communities and the globe of the world as a whole and our entire Milky Way, which is imminently endangering us here on this planet Earth, because we are devolving as well as destroying ourselves. We are becoming less intelligent. We are becoming more bullying, and we are becoming more violent and more war-prone. We are becoming closer to starvation and destruction of nature. We are becoming a walking nightmare on this planet. Why is this occurring? For a simple reason. We have held on to the anthropological system called patriarchy far past its shelf life. And we have not transitioned as a planet to divine democracy with parity of the genders in the decision-making and all people equally and presently represented in decision-making processes, especially for our local regions, but interconnecting with our global and universal realities. During this time of the day, we do a broadcast in stereo of what we call the Reall mysteries. You can read about this at our website at 5050now.wordpress.com. There is a section on the Reall mysteries, as well as, of course, most important, read the New Millennial Golden Rule. That is the key for the quick fix. And the 11 steps beneath it that make it very easy to implement that quick fix. and read the essay on the Reall, the Eleusinian Mysteries Revealed, the Reall Mysteries, which I think it's spelled Lelleweyou, Lu, because it includes you. It needs to include you. The ancient Eleusinian mysteries that were done in Atlantis, the civilization that was based on the Isle of Crete, and has in the archaeological finds proven itself to be the most successful civilization that ever existed on the planet Earth, in that it lasted for several thousands of years, had divine democracy for its citizens. The women were seen as incarnations of goddess, the females and the males were regarded as incarnations of God, and they were recognized their interdependence, and the women were not relegated when decision making was made. In fact, they were primary. And we know they lived in harmony with nature. They had an enormous seafaring reach, and they had no fortifications and made no wars. They were a peace culture, and they succeeded. And everybody who knew them loved them, until there clearly was some change that occurred around just before the eruption of Mount Thera, around 1650 BC, and they began to flirt with the ways of the more patriarchal cultures. And then there was a huge volcanic eruption, and at that point, the egalitarian civilization that was Atlantis was lost, and it became and drifted into a more patriarchal civilization, and all the world did with it after this huge eruption. And we've been in this nightmare ever since, and now we're in a worse nightmare. Now we've doubled, and we went from going from yin-yang imbalance during Atlantis to yang-yin in a very fragile and purgatory-like imbalance. And now we are in yang-yang, which is horrifically imbalanced and destructive of nature, destructive of human nature, and we are devolving and becoming more beast-like. While we're pushing all our machine buttons, the psychology of people is more bullying, less bonded, less warm, less affectionate, more reptilian, less caring, and more beast-like than ever before. Is this what you want? I didn't think so. So the way out of this is to share the new millennial golden rule and come and co-broadcast here. Women and youth age 37 and younger, you can call in on our conference line at, if you're out of the U.S. region or out of North America, let's put it that way. If you're out of the U.S. or Canada region, call, well, you would call an 011 for the long distance, and then country code 1-641-715 3580, and the access code is 773342. Now, if we don't do this, even the old patriarchs are going to eat themselves up alive. The Tyrannosaurus Rex are going to go after each other eventually with nuclear bombs, and we'll all be gone. This is an extinction scenario that we are now on. The way out of it is the new millennial golden rule. So we want you to share it with us and discuss it with us, and discuss what has been getting in our way. What I understand is that the people have fallen to such a bestial state that they can't think beyond the tip of their nose. And therefore, among the men, there is an obsession with taking over and domination. And among the women, there is an obsession with either siding and getting codependency with such men, or just avoiding one another and avoiding all thought altogether. This has tragically been programmed into people by our mass media. Our mass media for 27 years at least hid major world news about gender parity that was occurring all over the world to North American audiences in particular, and to some of their other large global markets. They did not want women to know that they could get parity within a month. They did not want men to know that either. They did not want anyone to know it, and they censored it. They didn't want you to know that people have 3 and 4 years paid family leave on this planet in many places. Millions of people have it. They don't want you to know that. Why they don't want you to know that? mainly because they were raised by nannies and their papas had lots of dough, and that's all they know. Mainly it's because of the way they were raised, and they don't think past the way they were raised. And they interact with each other, and they pat each other on the back, these guys in the boardroom, and they keep you out, and they keep the women out, and they keep common sense out, and they keep the world on an extinction scenario. So it's pretty funny, except it's incredibly tragic. I mean, we cried about World War II and World War I. How about the extinction of all of us? I cry. And each person is a universe. If you love somebody, if anything happens to even one person, it is devastating. You don't want harm to anyone that's permanent or unrecoverable. Frankly, I think that Goddess God needs to send humanity some epiphanies on this planet. I think there needs to be a titrated and perhaps less than would have been, but very real set of disasters with enormous financial cost. Not human life cost, but financial cost. To hit those in the pocketbook who are most preoccupied with the pocketbook and help the rest of us regain equilibrium via the new millennial golden rule. So I'm actually praying that there be something, because the people of North America are so asleep on gender parity, and the women are so avoidant of discussion of it, and the men are so out of touch with the reality, that it is truly like being Alice in Wonderland here. It's curiouser and curiouser, and it is going down the drain. So we want you to catch on to this quickly. Now, we do our Eleucasavioral mysteries at this marvelous, miraculous place that was a home that was run by our great-grandmother, that was, you know, the home that she made her place for her children, by our great-grandmother, Ray Margulies. And this is her. And her daughter, Sarah Harriet. The little baby, Jacqueline, was also raised there. Clara, Ray's sister, we don't know if she ever actually visited there, so we definitely want her here at these ceremonies. They were separated by immigration in different cities at a time when women could not afford to travel and didn't really drive, and there was no mass communication, or there was no Greyhound bus. They couldn't connect with one another. And these were the other women who were among them of her contemporaries. Our grandmother Rose, our grandmother Antoinette, our grandmother Rose, a great-grandmother Dorothy, and the very famous geobiologist Lynn Margulies. She had 3 sisters who were living on the south side of Chicago, while Ray and Harriet and Jacqueline and the relatives of Clara there were living on the west side. And her sisters, Joan and Sharon and Diane, have been invited here through their daughter, her daughter, Jennifer. And we think they all know about it. We're sending them emails about it. So they can't not know unless they don't want to know, which is, in the case of many women, something very true. They don't want to know because of the long delay in achieving gender parity. They now have a scar and a carbuncle where the desire for gender parity was quite strong for many, many years. Now they have a scar over it, and they don't want anybody to pick at the scar, and they just want to go to sleep and let the world end while the men are doing it, and they can just go to sleep and take the world away from their next generations while they go to sleep, because they had to wait a little while too long for themselves to get gender parity, and it hurts them to have to talk about it. So we want to wake these women up. We hear a whole bunch of the descendant Shekinah of our current generations of women, and here are their children, the great and grandchildren. These are great grandchildren too, and then their great and great grandchildren, female and male, of our next generations who are here gathering at this store. I'll show you the picture of this store. It's the home itself, which was, I won't call it a store, but it was a store, but it was a gathering place for community, for family and community of women and youth and children, and a place where children could be raised at the same time that women gathered in a very pleasant atmosphere and looked in the mirror and saw themselves wearing hats with flowers and feathers, the symbols of nature. And also we are now transforming those hats into the solar crowns of the Statue of Liberty, who is the goddess of Atlantis. Is the goddess of Atlantis, the most survived and thriving civilization known to the story of humankind, and is bringing her law via the New Millennial Golden Rule back to you via my delivery of it in these recent 3 years. I've been delivering it and giving it to everyone that I know. The uptake is very, very low, and I've come to the realization why. Most of the women I know have such low self-esteem that if they even have the ability to think globally and universally, they are very subject to moments of self-doubt and its inverse, which is jealousy and envy of each other. And if they have any momentary disagreements, they break off the conversation and run away from each other. And so their ability to sustain a circle and a network of change is very, very eroded right now. Very eroded. Almost frayed to the point of non-existent. And that spells extreme danger for the planet Earth. The men don't see it. They're so used to the hubris of being on top, the hegemony, that they don't notice that their encouragement of women to not talk with each other, because some alpha males really do not want women to talk with each other. But their willingness to get in the way of this is endangering them. And the women themselves are reluctant. And so that's why we're holding these ceremonies, because at least in my hands, as we say, the whole world is in my hands. Well, I'm holding you in my hands. And I'm acting intercessorily for you. I know your best abilities. You have marvelous, miraculous abilities. And I will have to change the calendar for you too, because you think it's the year 2016 and that's freaking you out because you think it's an election year, and it really isn't at all. We haven't had elections really ever in North America. We've had shams, but we never really had true elections. And in the recent years, it's gotten even more obvious that that's the case. And so you think you know what year it is. You don't know what year it is, and I don't really know what year it is either. But I do know that we've exhausted the constellation of our families and communities that were in existence at the time that this home and hat store was there, and was within navigable ability of many of the women who were attending it. And these women are now aging, and many of them are not remembering what was important. So we're trying to remind them that the gathering of women is the most important palliative and reparative step needed to achieve divine democracy, and any kind of democracy and any kind of sustainability on this planet, and any kind of future for us in the universe. I don't like to face that we have failed, and I'm going to refuse to face it, even if God gives me the signals that I have failed and my family and community have failed utterly. I don't think I'm going to accept it. I'm not going to accept that verdict, because I love them too much to accept it. So I just can't accept it. So whatever happens, I'm praying for you, and I'm praying for myself. And I'm saying to Goddess God, find some way to extend this, Goddess God. Find some way to do it. I'm on the job. I'm 35 years late, but I'm on the job. And I'm doing the job on their behalf. So now we're going to play the tape. And we're going to get on the phone line so we can do this in stereo. And we're going to do our ceremony. Hi, Vanessa and Harlan Lewis Love is. Harlan Lewis Love is and Vanessa. I am broadcasting right now. You can see the home that was the gathering place for the trying on the hats of the family and the community there, and all the Fountain of Youth and the Stargate, and the beautiful flowers and the Statue of Liberty and the breastfeeding woman, the family picture and statuary and all of that, and there's that. And in a little bit, I'm going to be doing, well, what I want you to do is I'm going to be going on a stereo way of, so that I also broadcast it onto that extension 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11. You must be used to this by now. I'm going to continue to do that as my practice every day, so that you can find the way to be a part of this ceremony. Of course, you can come online and do it on the Hangouts on air, on the meet me and greet me in the air, me and thee in the air way, or you can listen to it there on the phone tree, but it's better to come with your mothers, and I'll be leaving a longer message, but it's better for you to come with your mothers and other Kazina, Shekina and Kazinas, and young people, female and male of our family, females and males of our family. That is the thing to do. You are in danger for not doing this. Your mothers are endangering you. Your fathers or father figures are oblivious to reality. They don't understand the embedded reality that patriarchy is, like the layers of an onion. The pressure is now much too great on the feminine, and the world is so out of balance that it endangers everyone. So I urge you to come. You are personally at risk for not coming. I want to make that very, very clear to you. And if you have to, if your mothers will not come with you voluntarily, and other women of your community, like Georgine or any of the women in your building or region, Stacy, Anastasia, any of the people won't come with you. You just put it on your cell phone and then stick that in front of their noses and say you're on. And they'll be on. And that'll be that. It'll be easy. And you'll save yourself a trip to the hospital and possibly much worse. So I love you, and I'll call back in a little while. Dearest youngest generations, there, Vanessa and Harlan Lewis Love is, Harlan Lewis Love is, and Vanessa. I'm broadcasting, and you can see the picture online right now of the home that was a gathering place where everyone tried on hats, the women, and they brought their youth and their children, and we're traveling back in time to there as if we're delivering the new millennial golden rule from there. And of course, you are included in your mamas. I'm going to leave a much longer message in a little while, but you should know I do this, and I do it in stereo on the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 extension, the actual ceremony itself, every day, because that way people who don't have computers can know to call in somewhere and hear it and be a part of it, and they can even communicate with me, and we do the other conference line too that they can call in on. And we do that too at the beginning of every broadcast, and usually toward the end. If for any reason you can't reach me on the conference line, of course, people can call me at home, and you can call me 24/7. I'll leave a much longer message after I do the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 ceremonial stereo broadcast, and so you can expect to hear a longer message in a while, in about an hour and a half. Talk to you soon. Hi, Georgine. This is Rochelle. I'm broadcasting. I have that picture that we've traveled back in time to of the home that was the place that that Reall and as Harriet gathered the women of their community while taking care of Harriet and her baby sister Jacqueline, her younger sister Jacqueline, and that's where our family really started, in the heartlands. And it was the home also of our grandfather Julian, before he passed during the Depression. And that was why our Grandma Ray had to do this, and was very, very excellent at gathering the women of the community. And now we've changed it into a place where the women and the youth, people aged 37 and younger, female and male, can share and discuss their world, and especially the new millennial golden rule, and present it as their own to their communities and to their family, extended families, with this place in heart and mind as a starting place. And we believe by doing this, we literally can open up the stargates, because what has been missing from human progress for the past many thousands of years, causing us to have the main reason why we're not already an interplanetary civilization, is the lack of the divine feminine, is the lack of the democracy, including women. That is the biggest reason. So that's why we're doing this. We're just kind of trying to, for a several thousand-year period, fill in the missing link. And so you can be part of it. Just go to the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 extension, and you'll hear your families and my families and our families, all of our families. We're all one family, including Anna Marie and Mom Patricia and everyone that we've been talking about mentioned. And I'm not going to leave a long message here right now, because I'd rather you come to that conference line. I think people need to learn together. I think in our family, except for, I really feel that the young people need some individual attention, because they've gotten so very little, frankly, from their communities. It's shocking. But older adults got a fair amount of individual attention, and now seem to be stuck in that mode and don't know how to gather. So we want you to gather on the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 extension of stereo. If you're not watching it on the internet, you have the internet now. I see no reason why you wouldn't be watching. Maybe you are, but you haven't called in, and I don't know. So I hope you are. And you know, the main website is 5050now.wordpress.com, and we broadcast on Google's Hangouts on air about 5 times a day, 4 or 5 times a day. Every blessing. Talk to you soon. Give Julianne Marie and Vanessa and Holland those love is, and yourself and Julianne Marie and Vanessa and Holland those love is, yourself and Vanessa and Holland those love is, and Julianne Marie and Geodora and Martha and all the people of your building a big hug and a huge, huge glass of milk. And say it's breast milk, because I think a lot of the people there really need that, including Julianne Marie. So I give you huge hugs. Every blessing. Okay, we are broadcasting on this very beautiful day, and we want you all to be gathering here as if you were gathering at the home that was a gathering place for community of women particularly, but they also often brought their youth, female and males under age 37, their children as well, to this place. And we want to bring that kind of prioritization to our gathering. We want the women of all ages, and we want our younger Shekinas and Hikinas, age 37 and younger, to gather here, this time to share the new millennial golden rule and congratulate one another for sharing it, and sharing it with their neighborhoods and their extended family and community. We are all family on this planet. Nobody is not more than 50th cousina and cousin from everyone else. We want to start with the priority on the gathering of the women, and they're bringing their next generations. But the women have been very scarred in this area due to a very irresponsible media in this culture, and also some regressive tendencies that many people have because of the inadequacies that a patriarchy creates in family lives and family life. And therefore, a lot of people don't understand the importance of this because they're poorly informed and also, in some sense, poorly raised. They're raised under patriarchy. It means that there's certain pressures on their mothers and on daughters and on sister kazinas that wouldn't exist if there was an egalitarian society. And so we know that a lot of people have to overcome blockages and resistances to coming to this, but I will tell you that it's the only way to ensure that this planet will not have a horrific scenario and come to extinction, and that even that some of you of listening will not have some kind of terrible events occur in your life. Our family has an important inheritance, a global inheritance, really universal, but a very global inheritance that qualifies us to do this. And the fact that we haven't been doing this is a karmic endangerment to our family and to people who know us, who are also our close family neighbors and so forth. So we are praying for everyone, and we strongly encourage you to listen to it both here and also at Meet Me in the Air, and to respond to email and make sure that your email addresses are known and that everyone's email addresses and telephone numbers are reachable, and that you are reaching me and that we are connecting, and I can connect you with one another as a circle. So now right now what's on the screen is the depiction, the graphic of the home that was the gathering place that everyone tried hats on. We now regard these as the solar crowns of the Statue of Liberty. This is the goddess of Atlantis, who was very similar to many other mother goddesses of many other traditions. The Balkan name for her was Rhea. The ancient Greco-Roman name was Rhea. She was the mother of the other goddesses and gods. She was the mother goddess of everybody. She was the universal goddess. Whereas some of the other goddesses were gods of the earth, this earth or this aspect of the earth or that aspect of the earth, this was the mother goddess that gave birth to all of the goddesses and gods. And that is the purpose of our eco-savioral mysteries, to help everyone achieve eternal life on this and all planets better than our modern science fiction of Stargate and Star Trek combined. Better than the Equinox or the Nox, who are the very peaceful but very young and long-lived people of the Stargate series, and the true Q, who were the planet savers of endangered planets, who lived with total eternity and could, by the snap of their fingers, move within space-time through the Stargates with almost no effort whatsoever, because of the power of their consciousness, because of what they understood about the folded onion-like reality of space-time. The name Chicago means onion. It means a multi-layered reality that's interconnected. And that's what we are all part of. So we ask you to participate. We want you to co-host us and co-host these broadcasts as soon as possible for your own protection, as well as your own co-empowerment and pleasurable joy and happiness. And we are very concerned about you, and we are praying for you intercessorily. I don't know if I'm too late. I had intended to do a number of tasks that should have been done by now in relation to this effort that I did not get done at this point in time. And I know that that may be an endangerment to people that I love very greatly, because the people that I know very well are not responding to direct communication, and they may need indirect forms of gathering in other people, gathering in them, encouraging them and modeling for them to gather. And since I've been slow in doing that, I believe that many of my family that I love the most dearly and that are most closely related to me and have the closest relationship to ancient Atlantis and ancient Israel and the ancient Vedic civilizations, the Balkan cultures of Europe, the Mediterranean, Africa, India, and also Europe and Nordic and other cultures interfacing with us that we have had marry into us and so forth, that these people in our family tree are very, very endangered, because it was upon their mantle to do this job with me. And I was very late in waking up myself, only really began to wake up right around the year, our conventional year of 2000. And now it's so long in the tooth that we are so out of balance as a culture that the people who were most likely to have done this task are now quite fallen in their ability to perceive reality. It's very limited understanding of reality, and they are endangering themselves because of that. So we want you to come. That is you. We're calling upon you to save, like the song says. We're saving our own lives. Save your own lives. Save one another and save yourselves by co-delivering the new millennial golden rule, as if traveling back in time to this place of natural gathering of women, and then recapitulate it, reenact it where you are. You can use the conference calling of the internet and telephone to do that, and you also can do it on sacred ground gatherings. And so this is what we want to. We have our little kitty cats here, and they want to move around a bit. So I'm coming right back to you. Hold on. Okay, and I'm sure at the gatherings that they had in what we call interdependence now in Roosevelt, they did have some pets come through at some points. I'm sure they did. So Doña Aurora Feliz and Maria Rainbow Sweetheart. Maria Rainbow Sweetheart and Doña Aurora Feliz are, of course, honored guests, as are Heather and Jam and Heather, but we really want to get to the names of the women and our youths first, so in also our ceremony. So I'm going to take it off of the screen share right now, and you'll be able to see me holding up the heart light. And this is our Eleusinian Mysteries ceremony. You can read about it at 5050now.wordpress.com. And you can see the heart light and the budding, blooming flowers, a marvelous, miraculous budding, blooming flowers in water. And we'll say, we have, the light is on in all our hearts. We have with us marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers in water. Hugs and love to all, both and each and every one, as soon as possible. The light is on in all our hearts, and we have with us marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers, hugs and love to all, both and each and every one, as soon as possible. Okay, now I'm playing the excerpt of a tape that our mother and grandmother, Harriet, I like to call her as Hera Harriet by her full goddess name, and her sister Jacqueline made with me for their entire family. And most of our family has heard this, I think, a little bit at some time, but it may have been quite a while ago. But now, of course, you've been hearing it on these broadcasts. And this excerpt is the discussion of intergenerational sisterhood, of gathering people to try on hats, and of the protection of children. These are very central themes in a risen divine feminine aspect of society, and a precursor to the ability to have actual democracy, divine democracy. So we'll play this excerpt.
And then she said she couldn't be the maid for everybody. She just wants to direct. That's when she came back and started to sell pets. Her whole love was to trap her children there. She didn't. She wasn't so easy to get along, have enough to eat. She was careful, very careful. And there was a sister, Clara.
Okay, you've heard that before. And so let us start out with the names of the proprietors here. As Hera Harriet and Reall, well, it's really Reall Rayet. As Estrella, we can call her. She was my precursor. My name, Rachel, is derived from hers. The home was originally given as the home for her and her mate, whose name was Julian. And he was a very nice man, a younger brother in a large ship of children, one of the children of Antoinette. And he passed away early on in the Depression, as a lot of people did. And the Depression itself, as is our income inequity today, which causes the equivalent for many billions of people. was a product of patriarchy. We didn't see that clearly then, but now anthropology informs us very, very clearly that when women are not there when the decisions are made, the society tips toward recklessness and unfairness and poor habits of distribution. We had the Dust Bowl just before and around the Depression, which had to do with imbalance with nature. And so we have to learn from this, and this was one of the reasons that not only women are endangered and children, but men are endangered by patriarchy. So, but in this situation, Ray became a gatherer of women, and her daughter Ashera gathered them with her, and it allowed the raising of Harriet and Jacqueline in the home without having their mother have to leave them to go somewhere else where her children were not, to do work. She was able to be very far ahead of her time, but as many people do now, they do run their work out of their homes. She was doing that. And she also, the unusual aspect of this is that she gathered the community of thousands of women who came through, and they tried on these hats, which gave them a sense of self-esteem at a time when women had very low self-esteem. They were regarded pretty much as only the helpmates of men with no identity of their own. Large numbers of them did not go on to advanced degrees of any kind in college or even have any college at all. Our mother Harriet did not go to college. She should have. She had the brains for it, for sure. But she did not, and so they did not know the quality of their own thinking, but they did gather and they did discuss their world, and they did have the precursor of what we might call the large women's caucus that is needed to bring forth democracy and birth divine democracy for the entire world, female and male, via gender parity. So so this is what they did, and so you know that family was there, and then in our generations, Harriet gave birth to 2 daughters, Julia Marie and I, Rochelle, one family, and then Harriet also is a grandmother and a great-grandmother, but she was not alone in this time frame. Obviously, none of them were. They all had sister cousines, and what you call horizontal genealogy, all contemporary at the same time, including Lynn Margulies, the mother of the Gaia effect, who tells us that everything on Earth is interconnected, and including, of course, they were on Native American land. The whole land of Chicago originally was Native American land, and the name of Chicago is Native American, and so we also, of course, very much include Anna Marie singing cricket and Ma Patricia Sunflowers in these ceremonies, and their sister cousines, Martha and Laura and Rosa and Angela and Edith and April, and their children. I will get to the sons a little bit later, and they're just as important. The sons are just important. We're making the guys defer a little bit out of the strength that they have from having a several thousand years advantage over women, just by virtue of being born male. But that doesn't favor every man, and a lot of men are casualties of patriarchy. And so we don't want those guys to think that they're lesser because we're making them to wait a little. We're saying to them that by waiting a little, they're particularly gentlemen and great men of peace culture, and truly the greatest of the world by that slight little bit of half step of waiting during the ceremony, and they will be definitely named. Okay, so so now all of these people, and so now we're including contemporaries of her sister Clara, and then there was mother was also, you know, in another part of the North America at that time, raising many of her children, many of whom were daughters. So we have Antoinette, we have Adele and Lucille, and we have Grandma Rose and her daughter Annette was also living in that neighborhood at the same time, and we'll get to the branches of the younger generations on this in a minute. And we have also at the same time Grandma Popper was very much yet in Europe, at that time, with many of her Shekinah still there. Marie probably had many Shekinah, we don't even know their names, who had daughters at that time. And also Grandma Popper, and also Dorothy was also in Chicago area, and her sisters, the Kazinas, that we don't even know the names of. Now, going through the next generations, we have from Sarah and Harriet and Rose, we have me, Rachel, one family, and I'm putting the younger siblings first where I can, because that tends to be a bit of a necessary game changer in a top-down society. So Rachel, one family, and Julianne Marie, equally important, but we're putting the younger siblings first as much as we can for a while. That doesn't mean the older siblings are less important or less valuable. It just means it's a shift in the way things are usually done. We even right now on this planet, we have many countries that have primogeniture rules with regard to so-called royal succession and ownership of property. We have not yet come out of the older sibling first mentality. That is one of the big challenging issues in the Bible. A lot of the biblical stories are about younger siblings getting preference from Goddess God over older siblings, because the older siblings were practicing domination, where the younger siblings seem to have a little bit more ethics. And so that's a theme, but we'll get to that a little bit later. We're and so we have so now we've got Rachel and Julianne Marie, and then in the next generations, and now our contemporaries are Marion and Barbara and Nisa and Lynn and Esther and Judy and Rita and Marilyn, and we have sort of midway contemporaries, Arlene and Lee and Thelma, and then we'll get into them. I'll start getting into the daughters' generations. We've got Hadass, and we've got Vanessa. We have Vanessa's mother and family. We have very much important and very central part of our story right now is Victoria and Libertia and Estrella and Mariama, and Vanessa with Sharon and with Raquel and Lynn, because that grouping of women prepared the way for the mothers with sons. We've got some mothers with sons. We've got Mary with Ross. We've got Julia Marie with Harlan Lewis Laviz. And we've got Marion with Amos and Yeshai. Susan has some daughters as well as sons. We have many families that have both, and we have many families that have just daughters, and a few families that have just sons. In our culture, in a male preferential culture, families with just sons tend to get the tip of the hat toward accumulation of wealth and power. That does not serve the society well. It tips it toward violence and domination. And so we've been doing that for many thousands of years, and every time we do that, the civilization that starts that way looks good on the surface. It has a rebellion against some other civilization that it maybe took over or threw down, seems good on the surface, and then after a couple of hundred years it also fails for the same reason. It's totally out of balance, and it's tipped so heavily toward testosterone under patriarchy that the civilization can't survive. So this is what we're discussing, and we're discussing this with Amarita and Maryland, and with Linda and Michelle, who are caught in various ways in relation to the crisis in the Middle East. And we're discussing it with Ellen and Jessica and Jennifer. We're discussing it with Amrita and Marilyn. We're discussing it with Lillian and Molly. We're discussing it with Molly, another Molly, Rachel Molly Gruber, who was, now while Lynn Margulies had as her mother, I think her name was Leona Alexander, gave birth to Lynn and Joan and Sharon and Diane. Rachel Gruber had given birth to Carrie and Carl, the astronomer, who opened the stargates in his vision for all of us, but he was building on the work already done by other families that are related to us also, that of Maleva Merrick and her hubby, Albert, And there are children, the lost Reall, the genius girl that we don't know whatever happened to her, and there were 2 brothers there too. And she's here, and we're all here. We're all here. And let's see, who else we not remembered properly? We have to remember Soma. We have to include Soma and Meredith. I'm kind of concerned about them and their great-grandmother's Vedanta. We have to really make sure that they do. I will make sure I do an extra reach out to them today because I'm a little bit concerned about what's going on there. There was some very vocal resistance on the part of some of the older men of their family at one point, and that group of women may be under some particular stress. So let's pray for them in particular. But they are genius women. Soma is a genius. She's a tremendous poetess, and she is bringing in that Vedic, the Feldmarian line, and we have some other Feldmarians. We have, of course, Cheryl with Stacy Anastasia, also bringing in this important line of the Vedic tradition that came through Romania and Hungary, and also touched on the Baha'i and the Unitarian tradition, which is part of our nexus there, which were also great bringers of egalitarian culture and peace culture and around the years 500 through 1000 in Europe, when the rest of the countries were going after each other to fight over this branch of Christianity versus the other branch of Christianity, which none of which were real Christianities, because all of the real Christians did not practice war. And so it wasn't just an exercise in state co-optation of the name Jesus and called itself Christian, Holy Roman Empire. They were not holy and they were not Roman. And that, you remember there was a comedy team that made that Linda, I forget her name, she had a program and she would say, the Holy Roman Emperor was neither holy nor Roman, discuss. And that's what we're discussing here. We're discussing what Rosalind Mild wrote about in her book, Who Cooked the Last Supper? Well, or a woman's, her and history of the world. What we're saying is we are cooking the first breakfast out of patriarchy and the big break and the big meal, which is much more of a cornucopia for all of us. And we are including, let's see, of course, I don't want to include, disinclude, I want to very much include Georgine with Malka and with Shirley and all of their, Shekina and all of their youth, age female and male, 37 and younger. We don't know their names, but they're very important. And I have a feeling that their family had something to do with the Merrick Einstein, and I'll call it Goldenberg-Rosen Bridge, the Stargate itself. She's there for a reason. She has a very, very important role to play. And Geodora, whose family we don't know, and Martha combined the Atlantis and the biblical traditions right within your central area there. It shouldn't be a place just for taking money and treating people like numbers. It should be a gathering place for community. And now that the computer that Georgine has is in the conference room, you have a perfect place to be in that in one of our neighborhoods. Now, we all have neighborhoods. When we connect over the internet, we're connecting geographical areas all around the world. And we can connect, we're including Beth Ann, we're including Susan, Jodine, Laura, and Sarah. We're including, therefore, Halal and Elisa, Ashira. We're including, and their brothers. We'll get to the brothers. And we're including, we're certainly including Lynn Margulies' daughter, Jennifer, with her daughters, Athena and Hesperus, and their little brother is also included. We'll get to him. And let's see, who have I left out? If I left out, we're including Robin with Sylvia and Gaugy. We're also including Lillian Gay, who helped raise Jackie. I'm not sure if I've mentioned her. That's very important. There were many Black women who worked in the homes of Jewish and non-Jewish women in North America during the 30s, 40s, and 50s. It was just after the end of slavery. We had a lot of Jim Crow going on in the South. They were in the North and doing double duty, taking care of their own children and taking care of other people's children, taking care of their own houses' mess and other people's houses' messes. These women deserve a lot of credit, and they didn't get credit. And we have to credit them very, very deeply. And so we're including Gaugy and all her children, and Robin and Beth and their Shekinah, and Gila and Ray and Ethel, and who are also very much in your region there, and also very much in Israel, very endangered right now, and her daughter Tzila, and her great and granddaughter Tzila, and another granddaughter whose name I think is Shanoa. I'm not sure of the name. I have to look at that. And let's see, who have I not mentioned? I think I've mentioned Vanessa's family, and I've mentioned Marion and Hadassah's, and Shoma and Meredith, and Barbara, and Rachel Marie, and Danielle Juliet with their sister Judy, and their mother, and I don't know their mother's name for sure, so we'll give her the name of Rebecca, and all the people who were in the Bible, the Judeo-Christian Bible, the Vedic Sanskrit Bibles, and also we're including, this home was not very far from Chinatown, and we have some very profound women leaders of that heritage also here in North America, as well as some people of the Indian, Indus Indian and Bangladeshi and Pakistani leadership that are included in our outreach. They are very, very major right now in some important fields, solar energy and in computer area. And we have reached out to them, and they are included in this. And all these traditions have goddess traditions, whether it was as Hera Harriet, whether it was as Hera or Isis or Uza or Alat or Rhea or Rayet of the Middle East, whether it was Rhea or Ray or Ceres or let's see, Mari of the, or Iuli of the Greco-Roman, Central European, Spanish heritages, whether it was the Orisha and the Yamaya and Yamoja and others of African heritage, whether it was the Magu and the Mazu and the Tara and the Kuan Yin of Chinese, whether it was the Amaterasu of the Japanese heritage, whether it was the Astra and the Viviane of the French and English and Celtic, Bridget, all of these cultures came together, the Zoraya and Zaya of the Polish cultures, all of these were in the Chicago area. And of course, the Native American, Minnehaha and Chagin woman and White Calf Buffalo women of the Native American traditions. There's many, many different names in the different cultures. They are two of primary ancestry women, some of whom we recently were celebrated. We didn't realize that the Punxsutawney Phil is really a Punxsutawney celebration of a Native American grandmother goddess. That's how we morph these things into losing their meaning under patriarchy. Mother Nature is an aspect of this earth, and is an aspect of every living planet. When we don't keep women in touch with their powers of gathering, nurturing, and connecting and flowing, then we get into big trouble. So that's why we're doing this here. I'll do the ceremony. I think I've named, now I'm going to also name the men after I do the ceremony. We'll let the men, I'll name the men now. We've got younger men here. We've got Harlan Lewis Levis, and we've got Ross, and we've got Yishai, and we've got Amos, and we've got Itani, and we've got Brett. And I don't know if I mentioned his sisters with Stacy, Anastasia, and Cheryl. We should mention, of course, very importantly, Natalie and Alisa. And we have Brett, and we have others. And there's another couple of branches of the family that I need to be sure to mention. Bessie, and then all of the Russian women that are currently in contact with that family and were in the past. And this is a culture that has a great deal of abuse toward women currently and did throughout its recent hurried history. So we particularly honor Bessie and Antonina, Elsa, Penina, and Valentina and Tatiana. And we also very much honor Barbara and Heidi. I think it's Szheduled and Linda and Deanna and Diana. I am not leaving anybody out, even those people who have acted very, very poorly toward me. And we also are very much including some of our other neighbors and family. We're including Judy and May. We're including Louise and Elizabeth and Eileen. We're including, oh, and if I didn't mention Arlene and Lee and Thelma and Batya and Helene and Sherry and Paula and Sally and Mary and all of them on the East Coast. And there's more. And I'm also including Julie and Dory and Dale and Dana and Debbie and Arlene and Helen and Lillian and Annabelle and Irene and Hortense and Paula and, I'm sorry, Pauline and Annie, who also came very importantly into our family and whose gathering I kind of wasted the opportunity with, but they are important and we do include them. Other neighbors, Margaret and Temmie, Susan, Marilyn, Misha, Joanne, Seal, Carol, Gail, all through our times on this planet, on this earth, we have to think back of all the people we've ever known and who we encounter on a daily basis and include them in this ceremony. And now we're also including the men of the family. I'm going to whisper the men yet because we still have a lag on the gathering of the women, and this is what's throwing the whole thing off, endangering women and men. And I don't think the men are aware the fact that they need to get their women together and tell them we need you in the government. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who's the husband of Exande, they have 2 daughters, brilliant daughters, and a son. And his statement to the world was this: we need a revolution among women. We men have to be honest and tell the world we've made a mess of things. We've got to let the women in. Another person who said this was Bianca Jagger. She also called for literally a revolution by women. In parts of the world, this has occurred. The Panchayat Raj, the Galubi gang of India, in Venezuela it has happened. It has happened in Wales. It has happened in Scotland. It has happened in Costa Rica. It has happened significantly in Germany and Austria. It has happened in Belgium significantly. It has happened in South Africa and Rwanda. It has happened in New Zealand significantly, both among the Celtic tradition people there and the Maori. And it has happened all over the world, except where the media market has been most controlled, and that is in North America, where it was perverted, subverted, and the women's organizations and their obsession with abortion, and also clearly under some process of co-optation by female foxes who were pretending to guard the chickens, and they were infiltrating these organizations with women who would deliberately delay discussion of CEDAW, the Comprehensive Elimination Against Discrimination Against Women, and gender parity. There were people put into these organizations to deliberately avoid this discussion and any discussion of family leave. There was an insidious process here. It was done with subversion. You were lied to, and you were lied to by the media. That's why we have to make these broadcasts. And you have to gather here in space and time. And if I didn't already include it, Rachel Molly Gruber and her daughter Carrie, the mother of Carl, and the other young men of our family, I think I've mentioned. And now the older men of our family, I mentioned them all, except with regard to the few families where the women are still coalesced in extremity against this process, and the men are totally out of control. There, I cannot mention the names yet out loud, but I do have them in my heart, and I see them very much in my eyes right now, and I include them, but I'm not going to mention their names. So the names of the men I will mention are Julian, Lewis, Alan, Emil, Oscar, Paul, and the younger brothers of Joseph and Milton, and many, many more. And I would like to also mention the names of the father of the men who are acting out so badly in our family. There's 2 fathers, 3 fathers who I remember, and one of whom I loved particularly dearly and one very dearly, and their sons have betrayed their memory. Their sons are so dominating now and so inducive a division in the family that I cannot mention the father's names. But I am including them in my heart. They are included. And we can bring them through the stargates too. And I want to. So, so now I'll do the ceremony. The light is on in all our hearts. We have with us marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers in water. Hugs and love. Hugs and love to all, both, and each and every one as soon as possible. The light is on in all our hearts. We have with us marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers. Hugs and love to all, both, and each and every one as soon as possible. And by virtue of ripple effect, this includes every woman who ever lived on earth, every female, every girl child, every baby born holy girl child, as well as all of the young baby boys, the baby boy children, and the young men, all of them. And the only people who have to wait for 9 months for full inclusion in this ceremony are men aged 38 and over. The others are here being invoked, given their invocation as Co-Secretary Generals, Co-Saviorahs right now of the new millennial golden rule, and the others are given an intercessory time period with which to adjust, who are over age 38, and their task is to discuss with each other the abuse of women, the hegemony, the attitude of hubris that men have without even thinking of it, how their activities have been valued more than those of women over this thousands of years, and the issue of war, the issue of crime, the issue of rape, all of these issues that they need to deal with in their gender directly with other men, as the White Ribbon Campaign does. Okay, and now we'll say, we'll drink the milk of human kindness for all, both, and each and every one as soon as possible, and we especially focus on the babies at the breasts of the mothers, the on-cue breastfeeding for at least 2 and 3 years, 3 years optimally, and at the time when the baby weans naturally, usually occurs between 2 and 3 years of age. And that to be completely supported by the entire extended family and community, and certainly enjoyed with great pride and happiness and hugs by all fathers. We'll drink the milk of human kindness for all, both, and each and every one as soon as possible. And we'll drink the water of enlightened, loving, living planets in the balance of the new millennial golden rule for our planet Earth and all our planets of the cosmos, on behalf of all, both, and each, and representing all, both, and each, and every one as soon as possible. All the people that I said will celebrate and will re-celebrate, because you've missed my birthday for a long time. And you've missed most of each other's in any kind of circle. So we'll re-celebrate, and we'll celebrate and re-celebrate all our birthdays and holy days, our birthdays, conception days, name days, and holy days, past, present, and future. All of these people of all these generations in a ceremony of this type. When we all gather, we'll get the birth dates and we'll read them out. And we'll read them out in the circle. And I'm doing that on your behalf right now. Past, present, and future, as Co-Secretary Generals, Co-Saviorahs, Equinox, True Qs, holy born children, both female and male, capable and fully ready for apotheosis, becoming risen, an Eostra Easter without an Esther Eostra Easter, Aestra Easter, a promise fulfilled New Year's and holy day of spring, a new spring, arisen springs, past, present, and future of our spring and autumnal spring birthdays, because they're the reciprocal in our northern and southern hemispheres of our earth, and all of the year's round's birthdays in a circle, past, present, and future. As Co-Secretary General's Couszmic, equinox true cues. And we'll do the same again. Like to kind of give this sense of reciprocity and balance. We'll celebrate and re-celebrate all our birthdays, conception days, name days, and holy days together, past, present, and future, as equinox true cues, Co-Secretary General's Couszmic. Risen co-Christs of this planet and all planets. Our consciousness currencies are at the area under infinite wealth there. We discussed very clearly and logically why the use of solar energy will eliminate the need for money. As long as we steward our agriculture properly according to the rules of Mother Nature. And we have now the internet to connect us. We do not need as much in the way of any kind of fuel to fuel transportation. All the transportation will be solar energy powered. There will be no pollution and less need for traffic. More time in your home community with great communication without having to get up and leave and go anywhere. So we'll celebrate all of that incredible boon of the trillions and jillions and zillions of our creativity in exploring these benefits and remembering our uncredited Shekinahs for the thousands of years where their names were erased, even in the biblical Bible telling accounts, and too many news stories, and our current Shekinahs and our current young Shekinahs and Hekinahs. You are all Co-Secretary Generals, Couszmic. Your pictures are on the websites in many, many places, on the list in the Congress and courts and assemblies, and on the Infinite Wealth roster of the Gallery of Common Sense, the Susan B. Anthony and Mariam Lambert Payne, Tom Lambert Payne, and it really should also say Pocahontas and Sojourner Truth and many other names, Gallery of Infinite Wealth. So we'll say. And now here's our symbolic family tree with our multiple generations, putting the conferring goddesses, our great and grandmothers, and their Shekinahs on the top, our Ceres, our Heras, giving their eternal life to their Persephones and their Triptolemus, their Marsyuses, and their Hebes. This is us, this is you. You are getting apotheosis in this ceremony. You are becoming equinox true cues. We are opening the stargates for you so you can connect with these goddesses. And they can connect with you again, fully valued as they would have been had the new millennial golden rule been the law of the world as it was in Atlantis. Okay, there you are. And a very special family to me under a great deal of patriarchal pressure. Many of the women born in the 1940s were taught to look upon their fathers as much more important than their mothers. We have a lot of politicians who have this mindset, and they have put their foot in the door and gotten stuck in it. And they've kept all of the women out of democracy now since probably the beginning of the late 1980s, early 1990s, since the Beijing guidelines for women were announced and then ignored by all of these women. We have to understand a lot of the women in the 30s and the 40s were raised with very improper breastfeeding. Their fathers were taken out of their home with long hours of work. Many of these women have profound electric complexes. They are yearning for daddy to give them a pat on the head, and they're obsessed with that need. That is betraying the world, and we have to help these women move out of that mindset into one that is more inclusive of their own gifts as gendered females, and capable of enjoying the world in parity without having to give up their nurturing, connecting, and estrogen-based virtues just to get into a political arena that is too costly because it's being manufactured by the 1%. Our elections have been shams. The women who are caught in this process are deluding themselves and each other and you. So you have to have pity for them, give them co-secretary general status, but do not consider them to be more important than you in democracy. They are not. They are less leaders than the unknown women right now, and young people. And so we'll do this branch of our family, very special to me, and including this young lady's the 5 fingers to represent the women of her family. So we have balance here, and that it can be sustainable for both these branches for umpteen generations to come on this and all planets, in happiness and in balance with Mother Nature, and in reverence for the goddess within all people, and the young goddess, the Persephone Ceres ageless goddess, and the young god, the child of Ceres and Persephone and Estera, the Dionysiuses, the Christs, the Jesuses, the Triptolemuses, the Marciuses, the Apollos. That's who these young men are. Okay, and so we'll give them a big bunch of kisses. And we'll go back to the large circle of the family, because those that we just held up cannot achieve their fullness. None of you can until you make the larger circle in at least 7 to 11 people in your gatherings of women, and then bringing in youth and doing the ceremony. But if you can start with 3 women and gathering some youth, that will work. That will begin the process. Okay? Oh, and I neglected to mention the names of Anne Marie and Ma Patricia's sons. They're also included, Shannon, Ben, and John. We don't want to disinclude the young men. They're very, very important. They are equally important with the women once we get the divine feminine credited. The young women do have to come first, but only slightly by half second. The young men are standing right next to them and want it so. That's the way it has to be. And we'll start fresh, reflecting all the rainbow colors within the gems of our personalities and our gifts, and all the different hues of humanity and of light, and with paradisal parity instead of plutonic patriarchal planeticide. Let's choose paradisal parity on this and all planets now. You don't have any time left, ladies. I'm preaching to a non-receptive house, and I know that. So I am hoping that my intercession will convince Goddess God to give you more time, because you're so far behind. I don't know what to say about you, and you're in terrible danger. Your gender is in danger, and your world is in danger. And your youth and your children are in danger because of your delay. You've been mind programmed. You're like lemmings walking over a cliff. Wake up. And we'll say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, all the blessings and all the greetings of all the heritages of our earth and our earth's past, present, and future together. And that includes namaste. Mitakuya Oyasin becomes Mitakuya Koya Reall. Kongs Pax becomes Ko Am and Pax culture. Merci. Das Vidanya, Sayonara, Chus, Buenos Dias, Bahava L'chaim, Shalom, Salam, Salam, Shalom, Ubuntu, Good day, cheerio. There's many, many more. You add the language, and we'd say in the ultimate meaning, love and live long, eternally young, longest, and prosper. Everyone, not just a few, but everyone and all. And we'll say that again. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and we'll give all the blessings and all the greetings of all the heritages of our earth and our earths, past, present, and future, as equinox true cues, co-saviorahs, co-secretary generals, Couszmic, cousins, gazinas and cousins, who are sisters and brothers, sister gazinas and sister cousins, throughout the universe of the one family circle tree of love and life, and in the light of balance of the new millennial golden rule. Okay, we've done the ceremony here at this very special place in space-time. You've been a witness and a participant through my intercession, but you're not participating as co-hostess, and co-hosts is damaging you. It will damage you, and it will damage this planet, and it may damage my karma too if I have failed you, but I cannot afford to give up. This mission is too great. If you and we were on a sinking Titanic, we would do everything in our power to save even one life. Because as it is said, to save one life is to save the entire world. And every human being is a universe. The mind and the creativity of every human being, when it's connected to the heart and the spirit, in a body that understands the balance of nature, is a genius and a goddess and God, and has a universe at their disposal. Not disposal, at their, and I won't say command, at their touch. It has a universe within their ability to benefit and to grow with. So that's what you have. You can become goddesses and gods. You can be equinox true cues. And we hope you have enjoyed the ceremony. And I'm going to send this message on our stereo version on our phone tree. And you know, you can call in during the broadcast. I'm going to be broadcasting for about another about 11 minutes. And you could call in at 773. Call in at 1-641-715-3580. 1-641-715-3580, access code 773342. And we'll send this message, and we love you all. And we're sorry that you're not here in person or connecting in the Meet Me in the Era, but you are in my heart and in my mind and in my spirit. And Goddess knows, Goddess God knows, I have called your names. And if I have forgotten any names that you think are important to be here, you include them. Come and include them. And we don't mean to leave anyone out. We want to give everyone eternal life and the ability of an excellent karma throughout their everlastingly long and youthful life in this universe. We don't want to see people cut short or become degraded and dumber and dumber and dumber and crueler and crueler and crueler and more limited in their thought process. We want you to have the power of equinox true cues. Okay, I'll send this message.
To save this message, press 1. Your greeting has been saved. To change extension type, press
Okay. Now just put up the screen share, and that's our broadcast for today. And we'll just let you enjoy that.